Welcome back to the channel. I'm James and today we're sorting out the back end of this 2022 Honda Monkey. Now, if you've already got one of these, you'll know how soft the suspension setup is. And if you've any size about you, you'll know that it doesn't take much to bottom it out. Now, we've already sorted the front end of this bike with an Ohlins cartridge kit, which basically replaces the internal springs and valves and gives you some level of adjustability. Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a BSB superbike fork, but it does give you a bit of adjustability and a better ride overall. And the kit comes with 2 sets of springs to choose from, depending on your weight with all your gear on. Now, I'll put a link in the description below to the Ohlins dealer where we bought these from, and you can check them out yourselves. But today's video, it's all about the rear end of the bike and getting something that will work in tandem with the front. So we're doing a couple of things. We're installing a set of Ohlins HO819 rear shocks, and we're also changing the swing arm out for the over racing one. Now, the main reason we're changing the swing arm is the fact that the OEM one is joined to the bike with rubber bushings, and you'll see when we get it apart, there's so much restriction that it doesn't allow the swing arm to move freely through its full range of motion. So you spent your hard-earned cash on a fancy set of Ohlins and you're not getting the full benefit because the rubber bushings are kind of fighting to stop the swing arm moving. You'll see when we get it apart how solid it is. So how does the new swing arm address this? Well, the over racing one comes fitted with roller bearings which allow it to move freely, and this lets the shock do all the work. I guess the work they're designed to do. But if you don't want to jump right into a swing arm, well, there are bushing kits you can buy from Man in the Box. They let you convert the stock swing arm to like a brass bush, which is much less restrictive from a movement point of view. Notice, I didn't say we're putting them on the bike because they're absolutely class, but they will look absolutely class, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they look like. That said, let's get on with sorting the back end of the bike out. So first of all, let's have a look at the shocks. You get 2 spring options and you're getting the usual Ohlins quality. Now, depending on your exhaust setup, you may be able to get away without touching it. However, as this one hangs from the shock mount, I'm going to remove the end can and hanger so it's not in the way. To do that, I just need to pop the 2 springs off and undo 1 bolt. With the bike's front wheel locked into the lift, I'm going to use a small bottle jack and lift the back end out of the paddock stand. It's then a 14mm socket and a 19mm spanner to undo the nuts that hold the OEM shock. I'm going to whip the wheel out at this point and undo the 8mm bolt securing the rear brake line. Taking the other shock off, you can see the swing arm just sitting in midair. It's hard to show on camera, but there's a lot of force required to move the swing arm. I said before about there being so much restriction that the rubber bush design just doesn't allow the arm to move freely, so you're not getting the full range of motion that the shock's designed to allow. As you can see, it just hangs wherever I put it. Now remember what it looks like for when I get the over racing one on, and you'll see how free that is. Let's get the axle out. You'll notice I can remove this from either side as I'm using the DHM double-ended titanium axle. If you want to see a close-up on that, check out our other videos. So with the torque released, I can just slide the swing arm back off the bike. I probably should have split the chain first, but no big deal, I'll do that now. With it free, let's get it on the scales. So that's 3.3 kilos, which is heavier than I expected. The over one's weighing in at 2.5 kilos, and that's the braced version, so that's pretty impressive. As far as the shocks, the standard one's weighing in at 1,460 grams, and the Ohlins one slightly heavier, but not that much considering it's got an external cartridge at 1,511. So putting it onto the bike, it's easier to loosen the rear sets off slightly, which helps get the spacers back in that sit between the swing arm and the rear sets. Axle back in, spacer washers in place, and titanium nuts on with a bit of copper slip, as titanium doesn't like being tightened up against itself. Torque to 54 Newton meters. If I just take the weight of the rear caliper, you can see how free the swing arm is. There's essentially no resistance. So let's get the Ohlins on. They look stunning if you ask me. We're also going to use these Driven Racing pull cups, which makes removing the axle much easier. You can get them in blue, black, red, silver and gold. They're from Steady Garage in the USA. I'll put a link in the description. Let's get the wheel back in. It's a bit of a fiddly job, but we're installing the Brembo underslung caliper when we do the brakes on this bike, which will make it a load easier to get the wheel in and out. So if you're not subscribed, why not subscribe, and you'll see that video when we upload it. With the chain connected back together, we're ready to drop the bike back into the paddock stand. Let's get the exhaust can back on, tightened up, springs reinstalled. As far as the chain guard, we're going for the Zeta Racing Heel guard, which gives us a bit of protection from getting your heel caught, but also shows that DID gold chain and super light 36-2 sprocket, which is one down on stock. So that's the back of the bike sorted, and I said I was looking forward to seeing it. And I'm not disappointed. I mean, just look at it. And the overall setup's about 3/4 kilo lighter, which is never a bad thing. Anyway, next step is to get out on the road, get it dialed in from a compression and rebound perspective, and I can't wait for that. Next video though, for this bike, ahead of going to the dyno this weekend, is a gorgeous set of over racing rear sets, an over racing front sprocket cover with an integrated shift support. So if that's something you want to see close up, make sure you subscribe to the channel, keep up with the goings on, ahead of taking this thing over to the Isle of Man TT. Can't wait for that. For now, that's all from us at Small Bore and More. Catch you on the next one. Take care.